right, happy Expiration Friday, everybody. Welcome to August. With me here this month is Mr. Chris Celletti. Chris, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Look at this getup we have here.
Yeah, I know.
It is a totally... we're on location this month.
Yes.
And I can tell you the most horrific thing is that I forgot my cardigan.
Oh.
I always have a cardigan on, and I don't have one this month. I totally left it in my office at home.
I'm kind of glad you did because I don't feel so dressed down.
That's true. That's true. We're on vacation.
Yeah.
We're streaming from Long Beach Island in New Jersey. I've come up from North Carolina to see some old friends, you being one of them.
Yep.
We are enjoying our family vacations in August. It coincides with just about everybody on Wall Street and elsewhere going on vacation.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Sure.
So we are just doing our thing with the family. We were at the beach today.
Nice Long Beach day.
Nice Long Beach day. Wonderful weather. Can't beat it. How long have you been coming down to LBI? Because we kind of linked in with you.
It's true. Only a couple of years with the family. I came down a couple of summers with friends when I was younger. High school or early college for a couple of years. I kind of glommed on to some other family vacations, came down with my friends when they were with their families. And then, with my wife and child now, with our families and in this friend group, I think it's the third summer we're doing it. Maybe the second proper. I think the first one was like, people kind of came down a night or two or something, and then the full week thing this is like the second summer we've done this.
Right. So have you adapted to being like the dad in the vacation now?
You know what? I think so. Yes, I think I've fully morphed into the dad. I've accepted it and embraced it. Quite honestly.
What kind of dad do you think of yourself on when you're on vacation? Because I can tell you, when we left my house in North Carolina, I made a point to put my elbow out the window, like Chevy Chase doing the whole bit, until my wife told me to get it the hell back in the window.
Right. Well, I guess I'll say this. This morning I went to the beach by myself at about 8:15, and then ran back real quick at about 10 to meet the rest of the family before I went back and met you guys. I feel like the early morning solo beach trip is a dad of some sort. Maybe that's the version of me that's like the chill dad, get a little bit of my own time to myself. But otherwise, I mean, I'm pushing the cart with all the stuff to the beach.
Yep.
Gotta do it.
That's how you get your exercise in.
That's it. Pretty much my entire exercise for this trip, which is not nothing because then my daughter jumps in because I've got the cart, and when I've got the cart, she wants to ride.
Right. Of course.
Even though I've got the cooler and the toy and the towels and the chairs and everything, she finds a way to hop on.
Yep.
Add a good, I don't know, however many pounds she weighs now. She's almost 5. So she's getting to be a big kid.
You're pushing it like it's like the sled at the NFL Combine. You just like pop it, dragging it.
You're working. It's like a full muscle. It's a full body workout, honestly. Especially when you get that hill. They got a crest to get up to the beach.
You tell your kids it's uphill both ways.
It is, yeah. Well,
you got to make it happen.
It definitely feels that way. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, I try to I guess diversify the dad life, but I'm on vacation here, so gotta try to get a little bit of your own time. I know it's tough too. Mm-hmm. But it's supposed to be my vacation too.
It is. That's something that I think parents need to be reciprocally understanding of, is that like we need our time off as well. So like, yes, I'm gonna let my wife like have her night out and enjoy things. I'm gonna let her do whatever, but then we also need our time to just do something, even if it's just like game of horseshoes where you're not like watching the kids like a hawk. Like, that's important when you're on vacation.
Yeah, and I think it's you just got to have that open communication, with your partner or whatever, just to try to make sure you both get that time and that you pick up the slack when the other one is off doing their thing.
That's right. I agree completely. So now when you're on vacation, are you really the type are you like a big kid on vacation? Are you playing in the sand? Are you like just enjoying the amusement park rides? You playing the games?
That's me.
You are.
Yeah, for sure. Yesterday, we actually didn't make it to the beach. It was a bit overcast in the morning, and it kind of lingered around. It wasn't like a beautiful day, but I said to my wife, I was like, when I grew up going to my beach vacations, right? Because when I was a kid, we used to go to Point Pleasant every August for a week or two. So this is kind of like now my version of that. Okay. Because it was very similar with my parents' friends who they had for forever.
Everybody had their crew whether you're at the Jersey Shore, a lake up in like upstate New York, you're out in the Hamptons, you're God knows where, you're always got your crew that you go out with.
Yeah, and it was their old friends forever, and all the kids, and so it was that type of deal. And I said to my wife yesterday, unless it was like just actively raining, we were at the beach. We didn't do anything else during the day. There was no and you got Point Pleasant has a big nice boardwalk with all the games and the rides and everything. We did that pretty much every night.
Right.
But during the day, it was like, no, we're like everybody's just on the beach. That is what we did. And so yesterday, it wasn't like a perfect beach day weather-wise, but it was nice enough for us to like walk around a little bit. We did head down to like a playground and stuff, and I was just like, the kid in me was like, can we go to the beach? Like, that's why we're here. Right. We come to the beach vacation.
This is what we do.
To go to the beach. We are not at the beach right now, and we could be. And granted, it was not perfect weather, but for me, I'm like, it's not raining.
Sure, so
let's go to the beach.
You got to get it in while the getting's good.
Indeed, I don't get to the beach as much now, and so we're here for a week. I don't really come other days during the summer. I mean, I'd love to, but I live a bit far away. So when I'm here, I want to be at the beach.
I'm big on that. I understand you want to soak in what you can while you're here. I will caveat it by saying I need to pace myself.
Sure.
Because, as you alluded to earlier, when you're dragging all the kids out on the beach, you gotta load up. I feel like Moses in the desert, just pushing that damn cart and trying to guide these people to like the promised land. Because it's not easy. So and the trick that I find is you have to figure out how much time at the end you have to save yourself. Like I have to drag that cart back home too, so I got to keep a little left in the gas tank to be able to get back there. It's
a good point, yeah. Because either way, whether you like you asked, like, am I playing in the sand? Like, yeah, I'm like, I'll do my turn with the kids, rolling around in the sand, jumping in the water, whatever. So whether you tire yourself out like that, or you get a chance to kind of relax, no matter what, you've got that trip back up with packing all the stuff in the cart, and it is totally different when you are the parent. Because when you're the kid, look. Your parents can tell you to help clean up and stuff. They just want to get out of there. So the parents start doing all the cleaning up, and I'm like, this takes forever now.
Yep.
Like, this is not like, hey, let's go. Yep. Chair, towel, out. Like, this is a process.
Absolutely.
I think it took like an hour today to leave.
Just get out of there.
And clean it. Like, it was like, we should go. And it started doing the tent and the stuff. And
you start sending like signals.
Yeah, and then like clean the toys up.
Let me just pick up a little over here and I'll put it away.
Yeah,
somebody gets a
garbage bag out. What's that, dude? And then it was like an hour later, and I'm like, all right, we're still here. This is taking a while, but I think it's something you got to prepare for because you're lugging all that stuff.
I'm very good overall about letting them have the time they want. I'm not going to be super aggressive in like dragging them out of wherever they're going to go. I will admit though, today I was like, look. This is becoming a priority. I have to go to the bathroom.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, I will leave you here. We have to leave soon.
And then as you get older, it just becomes more and more. That becomes more and more of a prominent issue.
Yeah. But that's for a whole different set of reasons.
Indeed, yes. Yeah.
I do appreciate, as you were saying, like the exercise you get because it just kind of works it in. It's so hard for me to like find a core time to just get to the gym when you have small kids.
Right.
So I'll be sneaking it in at like 10:30 at night occasionally.
Yeah.
I'm just getting all my exercise in. I'm carrying the kid.
Yep.
That's a big one. We were as part of our long-standing vacation, we were actually back in Manhattan last week. So before we were at the beach, we were actually in the city, and I haven't been to the city in like 2 years,
Yeah.
And it brought back all these crazy fun memories of what it was like to just be in Manhattan, commuting to your job or doing whatever.
Right.
Except I had the family, which is a totally different experience.
Yep.
We went, for what it's worth, we went to the Barbie Cafe in South Street Seaport, which was a blast. It was a good time. The kids loved it. We got some fun pictures. A good experience. Good family day out. But my kids are not city walkers anymore.
Right.
The older one was, but I guess she just lost them.
I guess that seems to make sense.
They will not walk in the city.
Right.
And now I'm dragging them, one over my shoulders, one in my arms, just trying to like commute through the crowd to get back to the ferry to go home.
Right, in 92-degree heat in August in Manhattan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I have to account for that when I decide I'm going to do something, because I know that's going to happen.
Believe me, like, you know, so I live in Hoboken, right across from the city. So that is, you know, my daughter is a city walker, you know.
For now,
because it's all she knows.
Sure,
it's all she knows. So she is a city walker. But no, I don't consider myself a meticulous planner.
Okay.
But whenever I'm trying to do something, you like, or thinking about doing something, or, you know, what should we do today, or whatever. Like, you got to take everything into consideration.
Absolutely.
You do. Like, it's like, you know, and for us, a trip into the city is not a big deal in terms of distance.
No.
Or cost or anything like that. We're right there. That's great. But
getting into the city is a complicated endeavor. There are transfers, there are stairs, there are...
Indeed. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Is
Right.
when, even with that, you think, oh, you're right by the city, or, you know, why would you not go to something that's in the city? Because... where exactly is it? How am I getting there?
Right.
I've got a 5-year-old or 3 or whatever at different points. You know, I've got a child with me. So I'm considering everything, right?
Sure.
Before I'm like, oh, let's go do that in the city today. I'm like, what's the weather like? What is it? A holiday weekend? Is it you know, is it the marathon that day or something? All these so. Maybe I am in a weird way a planner of a sort, but I don't feel like that's like planning. It's just like I just feel like I have to consider every last thing before I sort of decide whether it's like a good idea to go do something.
I 100% agree with you. I think like dads get a bum rap for not planning that stuff. It's not that we're not planning it, it's that maybe we see all of the manual, arduous labor involved.
Right.
In fact, we've planned it to a T that I'm actually going to have to lift here, drag this much weight that far along. That's why we're not super interested in doing things all the time.
Right, exactly.
Because this is like, again, it's just... What do you say we just like tie a dead weight to our leg and drag that around for 45 minutes?
Right.
Do you want to do that activity now?
Yeah, and like I don't, you know, maybe just vision of myself. I don't consider myself like a crank who's like, we can't do that. I'm always looking for something to do with with a kid.
Yeah,
it's like I look at a weekend, and if we're free, if we have nothing, like, you know, which happens in the summer a little bit more because, you know, like
things slow down.
Yeah, there's no more dance class on the weekend or soccer, whatever you've got. Even so, if I look at a weekend, we've got like the whole weekend free, no plans, nothing. I'm like, we've got to fill this weekend up with plans.
Okay.
Because like if I wake up on Saturday morning and we have like nothing to do at all, I'm gonna like start stressing about how I'm gonna spend these 2 days, like making sure my kids like not like going crazy.
Sure,
you know what I mean?
I absolutely
and so
understand.
I'm like, okay, well, what can we do today?
Yeah.
And that's where I start doing the considerations, like, you know, what's the weather? What's like what would make sense? What's a good idea? That's obviously maybe too expensive right now, or not. Well, you know what? My mind's going to try and figure out something to do, and you know, so I'm always looking for something to do, but I make sure that I set it up for like the highest percentage of success.
I gotcha.
You know what I mean?
I totally understand where you're coming from. Now, one thing I do know about you is you, like me, you're a girl dad.
I am a girl dad.
You're not just a dad, but you're a girl dad.
I am a girl dad.
So now, and may I ask, how old is your girl now?
She will be 5 in a little bit more than a week's time.
Okay, well, happy birthday to her.
Yes, thank you. She will be 5 very, very soon.
Great.
Essentially 5.
Has the gender divide started to either help or hurt you yet? Like, has your daughter started to be interested in activities which you just have to, like, suck it up and do? Or maybe you're like, I wish she was really good at or interested in X that you could do together. Have you, like, started to hit those points yet?
I feel like a little bit, but I feel like it's a good balance.
Okay.
And I think it's good to, like, to sort of have that, to sort of, you know, I would say pass down, but maybe that's a nice way of saying, like, force your kid to be interested in something, or try to get them because you think it'd be great like that. But then also, you know, so she does dance. My wife danced as a young girl growing up, so she does dance, and she had her, you know, first recital in May or April or something. And I always heard stories from either friends whose like sisters were in dance or something like that, because I didn't have any sisters growing up. Dance recitals, they're the worst, because you sit there for 2 hours and just watch a bunch of kids dance.
I was going to ask you, what do you think of the dance recitals?
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, I feel like that was it was definitely an experience. I definitely like was maybe stealing myself for that, like but also I was a proud dad, so like I was like excited to get to see her. So I knew she was like the 6th or 7th song on the program, so I was like, a nice build up to get to hers. And hers was great, and it was wonderful. And then we had about 10 or 11 songs after that, and I felt like that was where I started to be like,
let me look at my phone.
Yeah, what's the time?
Did I bring earbuds? That sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So, but I think it's good. It's good to have those things, even to go to those things, even if that's not the thing that you're interested in, that your kid is necessarily also interested in. But I also am try to be very open minded. So I'm a very artistic person and creative person, and creativity and art fascinates me. So even I've never really been interested in dance particularly as an art form, but I do respect that it is an art form. It is an art form. Obviously, sure. When it's younger kids and stuff, it's they're learning, so it's not quite reaching the level of art quite yet. But it's the practice of it.
Oh, I judge them. I judge them. I mean, if they could give me numbers to assign them, I would rank them.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't? Right? I mean, you're like this one was really good. This one not so good, and they're like 7-year-olds.
I know. I get it. You're at 5. I think you're still kind of like testing the waters across all different things. You let them try the soccer, you let them try dance, you let them do gymnastics, you let them do this, that, the other thing, whatever it is. It's not until they get probably a little bit older where they'll start to have the bias and like intent to improve. Right, that's really the big thing when it comes to an activity.
Yes.
I wasn't especially like that. I mean, unless one of my kids wants to sit and do like a podcast with me, it's still kind of hard to find stuff that we're really gonna like jive over.
Right. Of course.
Partially because they're starting to mature into different just activities and things that they like, which I never did.
Yeah.
My and it's not even a gender neutral or a gender biased thing where like, a cheerleader, like I played football, but I wasn't a cheerleader.
Right.
My daughter might be a cheerleader, but she'll never play football, So it's kind of like, it's not one's better than the other. It's just they're different things.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you don't have the experience, with that. And so, you think of it that way. Like if you don't have the experience and, I lean on my wife with the dancing because she has that experience. So, and when whatever she, our daughter is, nervous about showing us the dance, because she's working on this thing for the, all year, and you're eager to see, hey, what did you learn? She doesn't want to show, I think anybody can kind of relate to that, that emotion as a kid, but, my wife, danced as that age too, and kept dancing all the way through almost college. So she has that experience, and that's kind of, I'm there to do everything I can and everything, of course. But that's her. She's the expert on that one, right?
No, absolutely.
And so I see to her on a lot of the things if it feels like out of my lane,
I hear you completely. Sometimes you just like, this is just knowing this is not my lane.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to try and make myself a fool. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I am low-key happy about, though, having like, because I'm never going to be like the volunteer dance teacher, right? Like I'm never going to have to like insert myself as a parent volunteer for things that are so structured and that. But on the boys' side with team sports, you get that a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm never going to be asked to be like the T-ball coach.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which I have like mixed feelings about. On the one hand, I think if I just embrace it, I could be a really great like 5-year-old boy T-ball coach.
Yeah.
Like, let's go, guys.
Absolutely.
Like, let's kick ass. Like, I think I could be really good at it, but on the other hand, like, I'm so glad I don't have to do it.
It'll be one of those awkward things like, the team's, trying to get together. We need somebody to coach, though. And, they can. And, oh, man, am I going to have to do this?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, she hasn't done, my daughter hasn't done any sort of sports yet. She seems kind of interested a little bit in, I watch a ton of sports, and so sports is on TV and stuff, and I go to games, and I'm wearing a Rangers shirt right now. I have half of my wardrobe.
So that's a big thing where I differ from many people. Like I'm actually not I don't watch sports.
Right.
So like not that I don't know how to play baseball. Like I did play baseball. I did play football. I did do things.
Right.
And honestly, at 5 years old, I'm still the smartest person in the room, no matter what. So,
Right.
I could do it. Like, I could do it.
Yeah.
But
Sure. But I don't like. I'm not pushing her towards sports. Like I'm not. So that's like. There's no part of me that's like, you should really try to learn to play soccer, or, you know, or baseball, softball, whatever. Like she's, you know, she hears other kids play soccer on the weekend, so maybe, you know, we might try that in the fall. And this, and you know, I've taken her to you know, we've obviously kicked around a ball in the park and thrown, you know, had a catch with, you know, and so. But I'm not like trying to push her towards that. I'm not like somebody who's like, well, you know, and I don't feel, you know, and this is just, you know, personal thing. Like I don't feel like, oh man, I wish I had a boy who was, you know, a kid who wanted to, you know, play a bunch of sports. Like I don't mind that at all. Like I'm a huge sports fan, but I don't need. There's a part of me that like I don't need my kid to get into that. That stuff is sports. I mean, look, it's great. I'm a huge sports fan, but youth sports, that can be like stressful on kids and parents. The parents are over aggressive parents. There's all those stories of people fight. You know, you see,
especially and when you get into
like,
oh my god, when you get into the older age too. Again, we're still like dipping our toes in the water when it comes to that stuff. But wait till you know you get a kid who's like 11, 12, and they start to travel. Soccer, baseball. Right. It's expensive. Oh, yeah. You're burning entire weekends.
Oh, yep.
It is a commitment like I didn't do towards graduate school work. Something. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, oh, this term paper is due like Friday, and let me like burn through it like in 2.5 nights and submit it.
Right.
But on the other hand, now I have to bring my kid to soccer for a full 2-day weekend tournament.
Right.
And it's like, I've sunk 20 hours into this tournament.
Yeah, exactly.
It's insane how crazy you can get.
It is. And you know, I totally understand why parents do it, because their kids seem to enjoy it, and maybe their kids love it. So, you know, you make those sort of those sacrifices and those commitments for your kids, for sure. But just like the sports specifically is a thing that I would be totally okay if she never wanted to play.
Okay.
At all.
You know, that's fine.
Know, like it just, if she, and you know, that's a huge interest for me, like I said, but if she just wants to do, you know, dance and whatever else, and maybe she just, you know, in a couple of years as she gets old, that's all she wants to do. I mean, it's fine with me, man. Whatever she wants to do.
I'm waiting for them. It's not a function of their specific interest. It's much more a function of their age. Like my kids just haven't gotten old enough yet to be interested in any topic the way I, as an adult, or I, as like, you know, like a like an older person would like something. Like I'm waiting for the day when like my daughter will say to me like, "Hey Dad, can you show me how to like play chess?" Yes, I'll play. Yeah, I'll sit and play chess with you. Let me crack open a beer and I will sit and play chess with you, daughter, for like an hour and a half.
Right. Yeah.
You know, or any number of things like that. Like I'm just waiting for them to get to a point where they're interested in anything that I would have an interest in a peer way.
Right.
Like I'm not their elder, but like because I like, to be honest, I suck at chess. Yeah. Like there would be plenty of like 9-year-olds who'd kick my ass at chess because they just have a knack for it or they learned it. So we could learn it together in like a peer mentality.
Right.
Same with maybe like a musical instrument or something. Like my daughter is taking musical instrument lessons, but it's percussion based and it's sort of simplistic and things like that. Once she gets to say like a guitar or, you know, maybe like even like a piano or something, I'd be like, yeah, I'll try to pick up a few chords and play a little bit. Like, let's roll. Let's hang out Friday night for 2 hours and just like strum some chords, daughter. Yeah, that sounds like a good time.
Well, it's funny you say that. My daughter, you know, she's not quite 5 yet, so we're not having any sort of jam sessions or anything. But you know, I'm a very, very amateurish musician over here. I can play a couple chords on the guitar, play a couple chords on the piano. I did grow up playing drums, so I can play on a kit fairly well. It's been many, many, many years. And like my dad played guitar. My brother is a musician, so kind of bit of a musician family. And so during the pandemic, I bought a $100 Casio keyboard, you know, just to mess around with myself.
I get it.
You know, I've got an old beat up acoustic. I've got a bass that I'll plug in every now and then. I was like, we always had my dad had keyboards because he didn't, not great player, but same thing, kind of mess around. So I would always growing up in the house have like something to just mess around on. So it's like let me just buy a cheap thing. And I thought maybe during the pandemic I had thoughts of like I should just watch a bunch of YouTube videos, maybe start to learn this thing and get good.
Yeah.
One of those like pandemic projects. Didn't quite do that, but anyway, so she sees me playing it and she wants comes over and stuff, and so we've had some times where I've started to kind of teach her, like I don't and I'm very rudimentary, so not even necessarily the notes, but I can figure out I know how to play Jingle Bells, so
sure.
Showing her key by key and how to do it, and so we had some times where she's starting to kind of learn that a little bit, very little bit. She'll strum my guitar, not she's not learning anything on that yet. But
no, it's about them. At that point, you just want them to find it interesting.
Yeah,
and want to gravitate towards.
And
it.
I think mine does, like especially with the keyboard. Sometimes she'll pick it up herself, turn it on, and just start messing.
It's great.
And I think that's that's really how you learn. You just kind of see. You figure out what it does and go from there.
You just got to do it. It's not like you don't learn how to do any sort of creative, artistic sort of things by reading it in the book. You really just have to do it and just kind of screw up and change it and screw up and change it, and you learn some new stuff, and that's how it works.
Yeah, that's it.
I've been telling my older daughter, who is only going into first grade. So I'm not setting the bar too high, right? But I am trying to get her a little bit more in a responsibility mode, like having responsibilities. Yeah. Mm-hmm. In that, I'll include practicing her musical instrument.
That's a good point.
Or doing things like that, because I know that it will sneak up on us that people will start to specialize for their kids very quickly.
Yeah.
And I'm not the type who's going to say, you have to be excellent at this. Like, I'm not going to be whipping my kids with, did you practice? But I do know my kids, and my kids don't want to fall behind.
Right.
So it's, and it's like, I've been telling them, my older one in particular, it's okay if this is not your favorite thing, but if you're not practicing, don't be surprised when somebody is doing it better than you know how.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
So like I'm very slowly introducing the idea of responsibilities that they have, in the vein of like practicing.
Yeah.
It makes perfect. Number one, but number two is just you're part of this household, so you're gonna have your chores. That's really what this boils down. They also they're really like, I'm really introducing the idea to them of getting the chores, and you have responsibilities and you have things to do, and I shouldn't be just yelling at you doing it.
Right.
This should be what you expect to do.
Yeah.
So I think over time that's going to really help them out.
Yeah, and I think that's why I think something with a team setting, and it doesn't have to be sports, but something you do, a music band, you're the band, the school band, or dance or something. When you're doing it with other people, it's a sort of it's the accountability to another person that you're teaching them to. So
absolutely.
The practice. The idea is, look, if you don't practice,
right,
you don't want to make them feel bad, but the concept of letting the other person down because you're not trying.
That's another excellent part of it.
And it's with kids, you have to balance it so much with especially and it's hard to know what age is the right age to start changing these things, but you don't want to make your kid miserable. Like you said, you're not whipping your kid into shape to do you're going to be excellent at piano, so we practice every day. Mm-hmm. If they're not having fun with it,
I will say, maybe we'll come back to this, but if I ever had a boy, I'm going to I'm 5'9.5". I weigh about 165. My kid is not going to be a professional sports player.
Yeah,
not by a long shot.
Right.
However, I do believe that I could get him to be like the kicker.
Sure.
The kicker, whatever
job.
league minimum would be in like another 25 years.
Yeah,
like that, I will ride that kid's coattails.
Yeah, 100%.
100%. I would do that. I'd be like, look, kid, you can get one. You develop a golden toe.
There you go.
We're all gonna ride it.
Specialize in something.
That's right.
But you don't want to like put too much on a kid and say like, oh, you're letting all your friends down. But just the concept of like, you yes, you do it you do something for yourself that's fulfilling for you. But when you do it with a team or other people, you are also accountable to those other people.
Yes,
and
I
so
agree.
it's just try to and that I think you try to maybe frame it, or you try to build that sense of camaraderie and community with the people that you do things with.
Yep. No, I 100% agree. Those are good life lessons that you need to have some outlet for.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you can only, it's almost like the thing you mentioned about, a creative endeavor where you just have to do it. At some point, you can tell your kids right and wrong and everything, until you're blue in the face. They've got to go out and learn these things themselves in everyday interactions in those types of activities in school and stuff. At some point, you do have to just kind of let them learn it.
Sure.
That's the only way it's really going to kind of.
There's like learning responsibilities and being a team player and all that, and then you pull that out and you just think about general just social cues and understanding how to interact with people on a day-to-day basis. Those are like the nuts and bolts of like being a dad and parenting a child. And you get the Red Foreman types who just like kind of whoop them into shape the hard way, or you get some more like lighter folk who are like Dustin Hoffman in Meet the Fockers, who's really gonna coddle the kids and do it that way. Not one is not necessarily right or wrong, but as long as you're trying. Your method may not turn out perfect, but if you gave it the old I aimed for a win, then that's pretty much all you can ask for with all this.
What I've found with parenting, honestly, from day one. And this has not changed for me. Is everything is kind of just trial and error.
Oh, 100%.
The way I do things, and I think me and my wife do things, how we've kind of settled in things is like, if something is working, whatever your goal is for your kid, right, with that thing, if what you're doing to try and get them to do X is working,
right,
you stick with it until it stops working. If when it stops working, you pivot and try something else.
Sure.
Trial and error. It's like a constant just trial and error. Every aspect of their lives, from when they're a baby to try to literally get them to sleep or take their naps on time, an actual specific focus like that, or how do I get my kid to be nice to other kids, whatever that is. What's your method? What are you how are you trying to achieve that goal?
Yep.
If it's working, you think it's working, stick with it. And I found that. Then there are things that we figured this one out, whatever, and then it changes. Something changes. They in the way they grow. It doesn't work anymore. You got to try something else.
Absolutely, I think that's absolutely right. And whatever that thing is that triggers the change, sometimes you got to ride into it. My younger one hit a growth spurt, and it caused a sleep regression. So all of a sudden, instead of me reading a little book to her, baby bedtime, it was okay, we're gonna go in the crib and then I'm gonna read you the book and we'll say goodnight to your little lammy doll, blah blah blah, that whole bit. It just clicked in her that she's no, I'm wide awake and I want to watch TV because
I could be doing something else. So,
no, so she just clicked into that next phase of sleep cycles. So all summer I've been dealing with it like a 2.5-year-old who will stay up till 10:30, just wide-eyed like an owl. She's not tired. And it's shit. I can't. She's my child, not my roommate. I can't be well, good night. Be sure to turn the TV off before you go. You gotta get them to get down, and who always ends up being the one who's up late with them? It's it's me.
Of course.
Which is fine. I don't mind. I'm a night owl myself.
Same.
But it means that 100 other things that I could be doing. Even if work related, I could be replying to emails at night. I could be, doing catching up on emails of this or that or whatever. Now I'm sitting with you and we're watching reruns of Roseanne on TV Land at 10 o'clock at night because
just waiting for you to start dozing off. Yeah, and that's and my daughter, she was never a good sleeper from day one, and so she still isn't. Not too often does she stay up really late. She's just an early riser, so it's really the mornings with her. She's an early riser, so. But there are those times at night where it's you look up, oh my gosh, it's already whatever time, and that's the me time as a night owl. Like you said, I'm the same way. I can't stay up as late as I used to because exhausted all the time from my daughter waking up early.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that's like me time. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
You know, and then sometimes it's with my wife and we're watching a show or movies together.
Yeah.
Other times it's sports fan, games on, or I watch a ton of movies, so movies myself and TV show, whatever. Or maybe I want to read. Maybe I want to sit on my phone and
veg out
for an hour.
Right.
That's like my me time. So when that gets cut into in a serious way, it can, I gotta catch myself from getting too angry that I'm, oh man, you get yourself to sleep now. Let's go.
Do you have anything that you'd consider like a man cave in your life right now?
Do not.
You do not.
We live in a 2-bedroom apartment. So I don't really have a specific dedicated space at all.
So that is tough, I will admit, because I was in the same boat for a while, and I really, even if it was a mental like man cave, I sit at the kitchen table at this time of night in front of my laptop and earbuds on, and nobody fucking come near me. That was like my virtual man cave in that scenario. Now that I've moved out more into like home ownership, and the trials and tribulations have been a recurring like theme in this podcast. But there's some real benefits to having some like elbow room.
No, of course.
Like I have my own private office now in which I can do whatever I want with, and then it's like right attached next to our garage, so the garage has become like my zone, which is the most cliche thing in the world, but it doesn't make it less true that now all of a sudden I do have a space, and it's excellent for like mental health and everything just to have a space. And I'm not saying that women can't have their own space. I'm not doing anything like that. I'm just saying that to have your own space is something you should prioritize for yourself for mental health.
Well, no, it's true. Now that I think of it, I would not consider it my man cave, but like we have a small balcony that overlooks the courtyard in our building, and I use that balcony far more often than my wife does. So it's not an every night thing, but like some nights after my daughter's down, I'll head out there and sit outside for an hour or so, and whether it's got a movie or a show or a game on the iPad or a book or looking at the stars, indeed, whatever it is, not that it's like don't bother me out there, but like most of the time my wife is like, she's right on the couch when our daughter's asleep, and she's pretty much couch until she's ready for bed, couch to bed. So if I go out there, I know I pretty much do have that space and time for myself. So it's
weather dependent.
And I like living where I live, where we have all the seasons. I'm not a person who wishes that I lived somewhere where it was always incredibly nice out or something. I actually do like having the seasons, but particularly spring to fall. I'm trying to use that outdoor space. We live in an urban area. It's not everybody's got access to that. So I'm fortunate to have even just a nice little balcony to sit out on and get some fresh air. So I like to be out there.
In like a post-COVID world where I did like the pandemic in like an apartment, to have a little bit of space. Like you don't need a lot. You don't need 30 acres and like a mule out there. You just need like a few. Everybody needs their own room. That's really the minimum amount of space you do need for your own like mental health and sanity at certain times.
But no, there's times I would and I definitely think to myself it would be nice to have a little, some more, some another place for me to go that's, not necessarily mine, but just another place that's like a little bit of a sanctuary somewhere.
To pivot a little bit more into sort of the old trader market side, like have you been looking at all into houses in like say the suburbs, like mortgage rates? Have you been really thinking about that? Because I've like championed more than once that we like got in before some of the mortgage rate hikes, and I don't like from my cold dead hands. I'll like sell my house and have to get a new mortgage.
So it's funny. My wife and I are not really in a rush to do the home ownership thing, or the suburbs. Not that those things you could own your place in an urban area or any place, but the sort of traditional, we're city, we have a kid in the city and then move, it's the traditional things to go move out into the suburbs. We've had some periods here and there where we, I think originally we thought we'll have our daughter, and then when she's 1 or 2, we're going to need the space for a house, and that's when we'll buy a house. And it just didn't work out that way. It hasn't. Yeah, it didn't
Mm-hmm.
work out that way. We just kind of stayed. We stayed. We did get a place with a little more space that when she started to really move around. And that's where we've been ever since. And we're comfortable. And now she starts kindergarten in the fall. So you start almost planting those roots a little bit more. But I mean, who doesn't pull up Zillow and look at stuff?
Sure.
And who doesn't do that?
Right,
and I have obviously friends and family who have done those moves and stuff. So I've talked to people about their experiences. I mean, it's tough because especially in New Jersey. I mean,
I left. I was like, I'm not even trying.
I
went right from an urban cityscape. I get it. I was like, fuck this. I'm out.
It's just it just seems like one of those things that is like way out of proportion. I'm not a finance person. I understand markets. I don't understand markets. I understand the concept of it all, but it just seems like something that is almost unattainable for a lot of people.
Oh yeah. Affordability indices that pop up in various where you read your eco blogs left and right show up with affordability indices in various contexts that show it's awful. Yeah. It's like affordability relative to this, affordability relative to that, blah 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 blah.
Right.
General affordability for homes across the nation are really high, but then it grows almost asymptotic when you get into some of the big metros. The New York is probably the worst, with LA right behind it.
Yeah. So it's tough.
The question, it becomes a really complicated thing because the idea of the value of a home, it can be very subjective too.
Yeah.
So for me, a big thing that I had said prior to moving into a house was I will not do the 90-minute commute each way.
Right.
I will not live in the suburbs. My commute will not be leave my house, get in my car, drive my car to the train station, get out, get into the train, take the train up to the station, get out of it, go to the subway stop that goes to where I'm going, then get out, and then walk to the next place. I would not be doing that whole mechanical thing that if everything goes swimmingly takes an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And then I got to turn around and do it again at the end of the day.
At the end of the day.
I was not going to do that in life. A generation ago, that was the norm, and I did it. I tried it here and there for stints when I was living in
internships
and things like that.
Right.
I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
It was so
I don't blame. Yeah.
I have kids. I'm not going to do it. Yeah. I'm a big proponent of it to the point, and I put my money where my mouth was. I left the tri-state.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it.
Right.
So if I'm currently remote, but if I have to go into an office, which if the circumstances arise, I'm perfectly fine to if I understand makes sense to.
Sure, yeah.
I will have at most a 25-minute drive in.
Right.
To the uptown area of Greater Charlotte.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Which is manageable.
Right.
Okay, fine. It takes me a half hour to drive in. It takes me a half hour to also get to the grocery store.
Right. You're driving.
You know what I mean?
You're driving. You're sort of on your own time. You're in control of it. Right.
Right.
I mean, sure, you could hit some traffic, but you're the one driving.
I work 9 to 5. Okay, so I leave at 8:30, and then I'm home by 5:30.
Right.
And then I have 2 hours in the morning to get the kids ready to go, and then I also I can sit and have dinner with the family. We can get the kids to have baths. We can do all that shit.
Yeah.
That's fine. I can tolerate that. That's a reasonable thing.
Yeah.
So that was a major contribution for why we moved, and it has nothing to do with the value of the house, the cash value of the house.
Yeah. It's the value of it's the other ways it provides value.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
it's similar. It's one of the reasons I've stayed, and I'm remote mostly, but I go in a couple days a week. There's been some overtones that we might have to go in, a little bit more.
I don't think I actually said what you do. I don't think we have to talk about that. Do you mind just giving everybody a overview of your general job?
Yeah, I work in communications and marketing for a large advertising agency.
Okay. A lot of social media.
The agency does literally everything. Social.
But you.
Oh, me.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. So I do. I do some social media for the agency itself.
Okay.
So I don't. So it's always a bit confusing thing when people hear agency, an ad agency. They always go, especially I get this from people in the industry. Oh, what clients do you work on? I go, well, I actually don't do client-facing work. I do the communications and marketing for our agency itself, the social media for our agency, the website for our agency, the PR for our agency. So every time,
so it's like meta almost.
It's almost meta. We're like the PR team for an advertising agency.
Yeah,
that's like so. Yeah,
I get exactly what you're saying because I have a quick, very very nerdy example. When I was at JP Morgan, I got into a big mishap with an MD once because he wanted to make sure JP Morgan's bonds. He kept saying JP Morgan's bonds that they're issuing were. Everything was executed perfectly, and I kept asking like, well, what bonds are they? We're doing the bonds. What bonds are they?
Yeah.
JP Morgan was issuing bonds on behalf of JP Morgan. Like we were selling debt. JP Morgan was selling its own debt.
Right.
Because normally a bank will sell the debt of like, oh, we're selling Tesla bonds. We're selling debt Tesla. Whatever. And I got this a whole big thing of it. So it's like this meta thing that like I actually got So okay.
So there are teams at my agency that do all sorts of obviously advertising, marketing, social. PR for clients.
Okay.
Obviously, that's what the agency does. But I work. You know, it's almost a function just like finance and HR, and every company still needs those sort of core functions. And we do the so I part of my job is maintaining the website for our agency. So people who are looking for careers and people who are looking for the work that our agency does and wants to either hire our agency or get a job there, they go to our website. We have all sorts of content on the site.
Great,
and
great.
That's part of my job. So it's I know people hear ad agency. Oh, what do you work on? And I'm like nothing all that interesting.
They think you're Don Draper.
Exactly.
You're actually Don Draper's like IT man.
Yeah, pretty much. IT's another. It's one of those functions of a big company.
Right.
Pretty much.
I get it.
The internal communications. Well, I mean, it's not just internal. So we do the external stuff too, right? So our website is external facing. Our social media accounts, which are actually in the ad world like very very successful. Very they have high follower accounts for ad agencies and marketing agencies and stuff. People we were able to share all the work that the teams around the agency are doing on behalf of the big clients. So the buzzy commercials for IBM and Coke and stuff, right? We're able to share that and say, look, this was our agency that did this work. Come check us out. Here's what and so we're selling the agency.
Sure.
As marketers and communications people, but
I'm just gonna from now on forever. I'm just gonna assume you work at Sterling Cooper Draper Price.
Yeah.
And you just like that's what you do. You're gonna be.
Yeah, we're that cool. I promise.
Like you're gonna say something witty and then pop a cigarette out and give it to somebody.
Yep. Indeed. You see right in.
Right.
But yeah. So I don't know. I'm not a person that loves to talk about work, though. Quite honestly, it's quite. We could definitely, we definitely can. But it's just like one of those things that I don't know. I'm a person that likes to keep my work life and my personal life pretty separate.
Okay.
I've been at my company for 10 years. A little over 10 years now, and. I have a couple coworkers that have been there that whole time.
Right.
Most people who I feel like would say that would be like, those people would be like, almost at this point, like very kind of close friends.
Sure.
I worked with this person for 10 years.
I gotcha.
I like the people I work with. I really do. It's actually why I've been at the company for 10 years.
That's a big piece of why you stay. It's people who keep you there,
Yeah. And so I do have an affection and affinity for those people, but I don't really have any desire to hang out with them outside of work.
Sure.
We'll get lunch. We'll get drinks. We'll get dinner here and there. But I'm not
you're not inviting them to your wedding.
Exactly.
Sure.
Yeah. I've been working at the company for 4 or 5 years when we got married. I guess about that, right? And I didn't invite anybody from work to my wedding.
My wife did.
My wife did as well. We had a table or two of her friends from work, which was great. I don't begrudge it whatsoever.
Sure.
It's just not my. It's just I don't know. It's something that I kind of have established, I guess, for myself. Is that there's a bit of a separation there.
Right. I definitely understand where that is and that's a different lens than say just networking. You want to get to know people on a networking professional level.
Sure. Yes.
It's just saying hey, if I have a job opening at my firm, I'll think of you, or maybe you know someone. That's one level of understanding and having a professional relationship with someone.
Sure.
It's quite another for you to say, like, will you be my daughter's godfather?
Right,
you know what I mean? Like, that's a totally different thing.
Yeah. Or, or even just, which again, I don't begrudge people for doing this, but like, oh, I've got, extra tickets to a game or a show or something like that, or a concert. Like, oh, I'm going to ask my buddy I work with. Like, I would probably ask, like, I would almost never ask somebody from work to, like, do something like that with me, that I consider sort of like my personal social life. You know what I mean?
I understand completely.
There's just a sort of divide I've put up. No. And I just want to say before, it's like, when I said, like, I don't love to talk about work or my job, I think what I really meant was, because I find this stuff actually very interesting, culture and you
just don't want to give me like
I don't really care, honestly. Like, and if anybody from
you don't want to throw a PowerPoint up and explain to me how to navigate this particular social media aggregation tool.
Yeah, that type of stuff, and just the I have some interest in the advertising and marketing world a little bit, but not just not a ton.
Did you go to school for advertising and marketing?
No, I went to school for essentially communications, like media and communications. Okay. I wanted to be like a sportscaster when
that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, when I went to school. So, and then I did work in sports for a hot second. I worked for the MLS team, the New York Red Bulls. Okay. In PR and marketing. Yeah. So I kind of found my way into the PR marketing area there. But I thought I wanted to, like a lot of dudes go to college, want to work in sports. One idea,
and then they end up with reality sets in.
Yeah, and so that was one of those things where I worked in, I did that for about 2-3 years, and it was really cool. It was, I have a lot of cool. So if you were a sports fan, I have a lot of cool stories to tell and stuff like that. Like it was great. It was one of those kind of like, I did it, and I don't need, and I don't need to do it anymore. I don't really want to do it anymore. So then I transitioned out of there.
I like when you say, "Oh, I did it and it's done, and now I don't need to do it anymore," because I feel that way about the trading floors of New York.
Yeah,
I was on multiple trading floors, both open outcry. Like I was on the New York Mercantile Exchange trading floor where they all yell and scream at each other and sell oil and shit. Yeah, I was on that floor for multiple summers.
Right,
and then I was also on much more like high end, like corporate bond trading at J.P. Morgan. I was on foreign exchange desks at a few other banks, and there's a certain like prestige that comes along with being it. It's like cool, like you're in like the rarefied air that you're like actually on these floors doing this.
Yeah.
When everybody is looking at the prices being published by like these four guys.
Right.
Like it used to be really cool when like they would have CNBC on, and in the morning we'd hear like, oh, Tesla bonds are going to be the thing that everyone's paying attention to today. So like my job would be to make sure that all of the computers had the Tesla stuff set up correctly, right? If they got fucked up, that'd be bad.
Yeah.
And then like the sales and tradings had their whole roles for actual like breaking of a new issuance of bonds.
Yeah.
So I'd be like there, and then on CNBC like at like 3:00 in the afternoon, it'd be like the guy on there saying like, oh, so Tesla had some bonds today.
Yeah.
So it would be that was the trading floor equivalent of showing up on SportsCenter. If I can say it that way. You know what I'm saying? So it's like cool. Yeah. Like we were like on the floor and they broke the Tesla bonds at like 9:30 in the morning, and then like that was like and then that was like on the Wall Street Journal the next day, like what the price was for. Yeah. And at the end of the day, it was like that would make the news on CNBC, like, oh, this happened today. And it was like a really cool thing to do.
Yeah.
If you really appreciated it, or like you would nerd out on that stuff.
Right.
You know?
And so I feel like I said, like as a you're not a dime a dozen. You are a dime a dozen if you're a dude in college and you're like, I want to work in sports.
Sure.
It's like every probably 50% of dudes who are in college or something like I would like to work in sports. So being able to I got an internship at the team and then and parlayed it into my first job out of college, and this was this is the soccer team in New Jersey, the New York, New Jersey team.
Sure.
Not the Yankees, not the New York Giants, or this isn't the NFL. It's not baseball, but so still pro sports.
Pro sports, and if you're young, anything seems like insane.
Yeah, I was there for actually some truly really cool moments that did actually break through, at least in the sports mainstream.
Right.
Like when I was there, the team signed Thierry Henry, who's a famous French player, won the World Cup for France in the late 90s, played for big teams in Spain and England. He's a world famous soccer player.
Yeah.
Signed with the team. I was working for the team when that happened. And the cool thing about PR and marketing when you were in at a sports team, it reminds me of what you were saying about the trading floor, is not only do you work in sports. I knew a lot of kids who had internships with sports teams. They were almost always in the ticketing department or something like that, right? Or fan services, right? Mm-hmm. Something like that. It's where a lot of people from the business side want to get into the business side of sports kind of start out. And it's cool, for sure. Uh-huh. But PR and marketing, my boss, and when he was the head of, essentially the head of PR for the team, head of communications.
Okay. He
went to every single practice the team had, because they'd have media availability after the practices. Okay. Media can come and talk to the coach, or talk to some players, and he facilitated all that. That was part of his job. So we would go watch the team practice, right? Mm-hmm. During game days, which were very long days, games and soccer games on the weekend. This is part of why the big reason why I left. It was fun to go. I went to every single game that team played for almost 3 full seasons, right? And had a great seat for every game. Mm-hmm. But most of the games are on the weekends, and those are long work days. So you're working 6 days a week during the summer. Mm-hmm. Almost every other week or so, you're working 6 days a week.
And that's great when you don't have any responsibilities. And as soon as the kid comes around, all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, that's what I'm really going to do.
Right. So and I wasn't even close to having a kid yet, but I can't even imagine looking back on it.
Right.
But yeah, when we were on the PR and marketing team, we got to be around the team and actually watch the games. When the game was on, we had a great seat right on the midfield line, mm-hmm. Above the team benches, and I watched. And then we had to work at halftime real quick mm-hmm. to disseminate a bunch of notes about the stats so far and stuff. And then after the game was where a lot of the real work came in, because that was have a press conference. There's media availability. Then I've got to help the writers who are on deadline. They might be asking me for